Hey everyone, Bruce here, and this video is going to talk about section 2.7 in the book called Example Program Future Value. And what this example tries to teach you is how to calculate the future value of an investment, say in a bank account, given a certain amount of interest paid each year. Okay, so what we're going to try to do in this exercise, again, is say we invest $1, okay, into a bank account that pays 10% interest each year. So our program is going to need to calculate how much money, how much principal we will have after 10 years goes by. And just know that we're assuming that no additional investments are being added to our initial principal. We're just doing what's called compound interest, right? We're letting our initial investment and the annual interest payments build up and compound and make us money. So let's go into idle, which I'm already in right here. Let's click on File, New File. Okay, and here's where I'm going to be writing my code. And I'll just call this Future Value Program. I'll just put in my name, and I'll just put in the date. What's I don't know what today's date is. Is it the 15th maybe, or 14th? I have no clue. Okay, it just doesn't matter. So the first thing I'm going to do is create some pseudocode, right? Some comments as to what I'm supposed to be doing here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to print out an intro, right? An intro message, like, hey, the program is going to start, okay? In fact, I'll do one at the end that says print out an ending message, letting the user know that the program's done, okay? So a couple things I need, right? I need to know, okay, ask user for the initial investment, right? How much are you going to be placing into this investment, this bank account? Yeah, that's it, okay? And then the next thing we're going to do is ask user how much interest is being paid each year, okay? We then need to calculate over 10 years, right, how much money we will have. Okay, so I wrote out, the basic outline of the program here, right? It's not the exact logic, but it gives us a good idea of where we need to go to fill in the blanks here with code. Okay, so I want to encourage you to first place all of your code always in a function. And remember, main is a good name for a default function, right? So I'm just going to go in here and just tab all this stuff in a little bit just to make it look pretty or handsome. Okay, and then by the way, in order to make this program run at the very end here, I need to outdent and put main right there. Okay, that's going to call this function, this package of code called main. Okay, so let me tab in here and say print welcome to the future value calculator program. Okay. Whoops, there we go. Okay. And now we need to ask user for initial investment, right? So let's say that we'll call that the principal. Okay, principal. And we need to get a number for them. So evaluate the input. How much money will you be investing? Okay. I'll leave a space. And there we go. So there's our eval statement. So we're going to ask for the input, convert it to a number, and assign it to the variable principal. Okay, principal is right there as a variable, and it's holding the number that the user entered. Okay. So the next thing we need to do is get the what we call annual percentage rate, right? How much interest will be being paid each year? Is it 5%, 10%, or more like 0.5% nowadays? I remember a long time ago you used to get 13 or 14 or 15%, but different times, okay? So let's create a variable called APR. There it is, APR. And again, eval input, let's see, what interest percentage is being used, okay? So what that means is we need to get from the user, is it 5%, is it 2%, is it 1%, or whatever it is. Now, we need a percentage, okay? So we can either ask them to enter in, say, 0.1, which would be 10%, or 0.05, right, for 0.5%. So let's put in here, in parentheses, enter a decimal amount, okay? So again, would that be 0.1 for 10% or 0.2 for 20%, okay? So now that we have the principal and the interest, right, we need to figure out how to calculate, right, over 10 years how the principal is going to grow, okay? So let's talk about this for a second. So if I give you $1, okay, you invest $1, and I pay 10% interest each year. So after the first year, you're going to have $1.10, okay? And then the second year, you're going to, again, use 10% times $1.10 to give you, I guess it's $1.21, right? You're going to make 11 cents the next year, okay? And you can see how this money is going to grow over time, okay? So how do we do that? We know we need to do the calculation for 10 years, okay? So think of what we've learned in class already. For I in range of 10, okay? So each year we are going to take the principal amount. Actually, we're going to take the principal amount, okay? And then we're going to multiply that times 1 plus the APR, and I'll explain this in a second. So what this is saying here, what this statement is saying is take the initial amount that you invested and multiply it times 1 plus that APR, okay? So if the interest rate were 10%, we'd have, and we invested $1, the principal would be $1 times 1 plus 0.1, which is 1.1, which gives you $1.10, okay? So just to show you what this looks like, okay, so print out the new principal is, comma, principal, okay? There we go. So that program is done, believe it or not. And watch, actually, it's done. So let's save it. I'm going to call it principal, and I'm going to run it. Run module. Okay, how much will you be investing? I'm going to invest. I'm going to invest $1, and 0.1 is the interest rate. So there is the first year we're going to have $1.10, the second year $1.21, the third year $1.33, $1.46, and in 10 years we're going to have $2.60. Okay, so I want you to realize that we're getting these numbers at the end here, but we'll talk about them in class a little bit, why you're getting these weird numbers at the very end here. Well, I'll tell you, because what's going on inside the computer is what's called an approximation. Okay, these numbers are correct. Okay, these numbers are correct, but you're dealing with significant places out here that aren't very accurate. So $1.10, $1.21, and after 2 years, $2.60. Okay, so let's run our program again, and I'll show you if you take $100 and you get 10% interest, 0.1, that in 10 years you'll have $260. Okay, so this is what's called compounding interest. I don't know how many of you have bank accounts, and if you have them, how often you look at them, right? And how much interest your bank pays. But this is a program, again, it's in your book. It is on page 47. Actually, it starts on page 46. And the last thing I want to talk to you about is this statement right here. So this is taking the initial principal, which is $1, multiplying it times 1 plus the APR, and then it's reassigning it back to this variable here. So as this loop goes through, this value of principal keeps changing and it keeps growing, and at the very end, right, it's that big value, right? So again, we take the principal here, we multiply it times 1 plus the interest rate, reassign it back to itself because it's a variable. It can vary, right? And then we print out that particular value, okay? You could print out at the very end here, right, and say print. Oh, print out an ending message. I still need to do that. Let's do that. The final principal after 10 years is, right, comma, principal. And then we'll say print program over. Okay, so let's run it. Let's just show you how it, whoops, I didn't want to do that. Let's do this. Run module. Okay, let's invest $1 million, okay? And let's do a small interest rate, like 0.05, half of 1%. So if you have $1 million and someone's paying you half of 1 percentage point interest each year, you will have, right, some big number, okay? 1.6 million, right? You see how it grows? Okay, pretty neat, eh? So when people tell you to save your money and invest money, it can grow using compounding interest. Okay, so that's the section from the book. Again, it's on page 46, 47, 48, section 2.7, future value.